To me, there's not much that's more fulfilling. I get to see creation from a vantage point that most people don't get to see. Earth from the sky down. My name is Matthew McCain. I'm from Columbia, Mississippi. I'm a land surveyor by trade, but I'm an aviator by heart. I was pretty much born into flying. My dad was born on an Air Force base. His father was an aircraft mechanic. He worked on B-52s. And so my dad was exposed to aviation from birth, and I think that led to him becoming an aviator. He's a private pilot, so that kind of carried over to myself. I grew up at this airport. I can remember coming out at a very young age, riding my tricycle while he was working on the airplane. I do remember flying a lot with him in a small two-seat Cessna. Kind of from there, that passion grew. So that gave my dad exposure on Air Force bases. He was born in Barksdale, so that was a strategic air command base where B-52s were positioned. My dad got exposed to the dawn of the jet age, and so that passion kind of carried over into me. And so I recall a lot of early age flights. We've had this hangar pretty much my entire life. I'll say my earliest memories were wanting to be in an airplane. It is something that I've always wanted to do. Like I said, I grew up out here. This is, from a toddler age, riding tricycles to bicycles. I learned how to drive out here. I learned how to fly here. When I say I was born into aviation, I truly believe it was something in my genetics. So I started flight training when I was, I think, 16, 15 or 16. But it actually took me 10 years to get my pilot's license because of distractions in life. And I finally decided this is something very worth pursuing, and I needed to dedicate my time to it. I buckled down and actually completed my flight training in about 3 months. Every flight's a memorable flight, but however, I do have a few flights that are going to stick with me the rest of my life. A lot of my early unofficial flight training, I do recall with my dad. He was teaching me the fundamentals of flying and stuff. Those memories are going to stick with me forever. My most memorable flight is when I proposed to my wife. A friend helped me paint "Will You Marry Me" in his field, and I took my girlfriend on a flight that day, and we went and flew over my friend's field, and it took 2 passes over the field for her to recognize the words, and fortunately she said yes. The most challenging flight I would say would be my instrument rating check ride. I was just extremely nervous about it. I spent a lot of time training, a lot of time preparing. At the time my nerves were worked up, and we ended up, going through the flight, and I received my instrument rating after that. I remember the flight back, my flight instructor went with me. I let him fly the plane back because I was just so mentally exhausted afterwards, but relieved as well when I received my instrument rating. I say, other than my dad, Mr. Pete Kendrick, he was a long-time flight instructor here in Columbia. He's taught a lot of us, including my dad, myself, several of my friends, my second greatest mentor in aviation. What I typically tell folks who are interested in aviation and want to learn how to fly is to just take the first step. Be active. Go find a local pilot community. Go find a local flight school. Go plug in somewhere. The biggest problem is most people don't ever take the first step. It takes action. It will take time and take dedication. Now's the best time to start. It's most important that you do start and you keep pushing forward, and then one day you'll be completing your check ride, and then you'll have your private pilot certificate. And it's one of the greatest feelings on earth. You know, one of my biggest foundations in life is love God, love people. And, you know, some of the greatest joys I've seen people experience is flying, is aviation. And they get to experience God's creation in a way that a lot of people don't. And so I think that's one of my biggest passions in aviation, is sharing that experience with others. The smile on their face when they're in the plane and looking out the window and seeing life from altitude for the first time is an incredible experience.